Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 73rd episode. It just sounds right. Of the Vito X Dino podcast. My name is Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean Haspiel.
Where you at, Dean?
Look at this place, man. I'm in Yaddo right now in my studio, a giant studio that uh, should really have a painter in it right now, or somebody building a giant something or another. I'm only using about a quarter of the space, as I was showing you previously. Like if I turn my laptop around, there is an art table here and some supplies. And then over here, I mean, there's a lot of light coming in. I don't have any lights on right now, but look how bright it is.
Yeah.
And we have outside the window. I have many windows. It's incredible.
How dark does it get at night since there's all this natural light coming in right now? Like, and I assumed you would put on a light or
You
whatever.
put on the lights, but also like the grounds have like lights that light the path,
Oh,
like almost like Gotham lights,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of old stuff here, man. There's a lot of history. In
No,
fact, I was talking to the president the other day, Elena Richardson, who's incredible. Lots of great stories that involve her. And she was asking me, how you doing? And I was like, I think I'm having an existential crisis because I'm trying to figure out like what's my purpose anymore. Like I've made comics, like why am I making new comics? Although these are kind of like my favorite comics I'm making right now. And she told me a story when at one point early on, when the writer Philip Roth and the artist Philip Guston or Guston, I don't know how you say his name, Guston. So Roth and Guston were, well, actually, they were at dinner one night, and Philip Guston had just had a terrible, awful gallery show. Like he was torn to shreds or something, was feeling like, what am I doing? And I think Philip Roth might have been in between books or essays or something. And he too was feeling like a little down. And apparently they were sitting at the table and they started to like write and draw a comic together. And I was thinking Philip Roth and Philip Gaston doing, and she told me they had some of the documents here. I mean, so many interesting artists and writers and composers and filmmakers come through here, and you get to have these interesting conversations, and I can tell you more about it. But
well,
I wish you could do it someday.
yeah, it's rough. I mean, maybe after James graduates from high school or something like that, but like it would be rough to do. But for those
Yeah.
that are just joining, the conversation, what is Yaddo? What is Yaddo stand? Does Yaddo stand for something? Is it short for something? What exactly? Where are you? Not necessarily.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, we're in Saratoga Springs, New York. It's 400 acres of land with a mansion and housing, old and new. There's a rose garden that the public can go to. In fact, when the public, parks their cars and they walk over to the rose garden, they have to pass a giant lawn. And there's kind of like a little bit of a border, let's say, and there's a fountain and whatnot. But if you look up at the mansion, sometimes you'll see the artist monks walking around
Hmm.
making stuff, like or who's up there, like the mystery of the artists kind of a thing. And so it's kind of funny. And what else is Yaddo? Yaddo is, I don't really know how it's funded. I think there's a lot of patrons that help Yaddo patronize artists and stuff. They do a lot of events. And in fact, what's really interesting is we're recording on June 4th, 2026. Tomorrow, June 5th. So June 5th, 1926 was the very first residency.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to be part of their 100th year actual residency.
That's crazy.
I mean, there's been a ton of residencies, but in terms of the 100-year mark.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, June 5th, 26 is the 100th, anniversary of the first, residency, which is pretty amazing. I'm trying to think what else to say. Oh, Yaddo, what is it? What is it? Yaddo is a made up word.
Really?
Um, Yaddo, yeah, it's Yaddo. And by the way, if you're trying to want to look up Yaddo, you just type in yaddo.org, okay? And it'll tell you everything you need to know and when you can submit to try to come to Yaddo. But the Trasks is the family that decided to turn this space into an artist residency. And for instance, John Cheever, the writer
Mhm.
who wrote The Swimmer, that was then made into a movie with Burt Lancaster. He used to come here, and at one point he was like, "You know what this place needs? It needs a pool." And then when he got his first check for selling the rights or whatever, the story to be turned into a movie, he had helped fund the building of the pool that's
Right.
here. So, and in fact, I was playing ping pong in front of the pool last night,
Oh,
which isn't open
outside?
yet, but no, inside. And there's a pool table and there's ping pong and right next to the pool house. But Yaddo was named by was it Katrina Trask? I'm sorry, I'm forgetting this right now, which is bad because I should know these things. But you can look it up. Anyway, she was standing in one area of the place and pointed uh toward an area where they were deciding, well, where should we put the mansion or where should we put the, do all this. And I think she was trying to point at and say shadow, but she said Yaddo,
Oh,
and it stuck. And that's what the place was called. She named the place Yaddo, but was maybe trying to say shadow. I'm being a terrible
does anybody
Yaddoite
live in the
right.
mansion, or is the mansion kind of where you all stay, or like?
This is the thing that bummed me out when I got here. I often stay in the mansion. I've had a studio in the mansion. I've done the Red Hook there. I've done the Fox. I've done Superman in the mansion, which is weird, because when I first learned about Yaddo from Jonathan Ames, he used to come here all the
Right.
time. And then I submitted and got in 2012. This is my seventh time of being
Seven,
here, which
as in
is
seven.
crazy. Seven, yeah. But the mansion is being renovated right now,
Hmm.
and we're using it to eat dinner. And there's like this incredible living room, and there's a drinks room and a piano and stuff. But it's like 3 stories tall. But I'm hearing that maybe this is the end of residents being able to sleep there.
Hmm.
That it's just become that old, and there's a lot of bats. And apparently the new rule. And I used to lay in my bed and a bat be flying all the way around and coming toward my face. I just make little movies on my phone, because I love bats and I've caught
Yeah, yeah, they're
bats,
awesome.
and they're awesome and they eat the mosquitoes and everything else, right? But apparently the new rule now is that if you wake up in a room with a bat in the room, you have to go and get $1,000 shot.
Hmm.
Like they might have bit you in the middle of the night or something. And it's messed up because
Like
like
tetanus
who has a
bees,
thousand dollars to go get a bat shot?
especially when
Like
you're up there for free.
exactly. So they don't want to deal with that, and maybe there's other issues. Who knows? But it's still you're still able to get in there. I was just talking to the chef this morning. So yeah, I don't know, man.
So is that your
It's a
bed
beautiful.
that you're staying in right now? Like, is that your bed back there?
No, that's a bed that comes with the studio. I have a bedroom. This is so that I can rest my head, Vito,
Oh, precious baby.
or read a graphic novel or a book or do whatever I want. Like it's insane. It's a beautiful space. I feel
Yeah.
very lucky and privileged and honored
I mean,
to be at Yada.
if they called it a sanitarium, I'd almost understand it.
Was there anything else here? Oh, I think it might be an insane asylum a little bit, but
Well, I
hey,
mean, artists, we're all a little crazy.
the art. I mean, the conversations we have can be a little outrageous. So,
So I got
but yeah, I mean, I can tell you what I'm working on here, but we can get to
yeah,
that later.
okay.
I feel like I'm capitalizing
Oh
the
no, it's fascinating. It's like it's very interesting to hear about. I got
right.
I wouldn't say I got woken up by you this morning, but I got a text from you. That was the first thing I saw this morning. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can say it.
Well, so Dean sent me a text. Um, well, first of all, there was a text from the other day, and I'm like, oh, like when I saw that you had texted me, I thought it was going to be like this. So I saw a thing about Dean, and it said going for a moonwalk soon, And then I wrote back bitch ass, and he goes, "You heard?" I was like, "Sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant to say bitch ass hippie." So, so this is like how we talk to each other. And then I get a text from Dean this morning at 9:18 a.m. and it's Marjane Satrapi's Instagram, and it's like these 9, 10 squares. Like so, like the way her, like if you go to her main page, you would see all of these as almost like a mosaic. And it's a shot of her and her husband, and then the words "For I lost the love of my life," and then it's a shot of her husband who passed away last year, I believe. And her family has announced that Marjane Satrapi is no longer with us. They cite the cause of death as died of sadness, which sounds to me like she might have taken her life, but I don't want to speculate. Um, I remember reading Persepolis at Jim Hanley's Universe and just being so not overwhelmed, but just delighted by the idea of a comic book teaching me about the Iranian Revolution. This girl who was into the Ramones and punk rock and wanted just to listen to her music and just couldn't because of the Shah of Iran and the Ayatollah like having their conflict. And then she emigrated, I think, to Paris, to France, and just like this fascinating. And I think there was a sequel to Persepolis, her
Mhm.
amazing,
Mhm.
amazing book, which if you've never read, please track it down, especially now. And I believe there's a sequel to it, but they also made an animated feature, which I own, and it's amazing. It's nothing like when you look at like adaptations from comics to film or cartoons, there's always something that's, taken away from it or anything. This was just picture perfect from the page to the screen adaptation. It was amazing. And I can't say that I know what she was up to in the more latter years since the second Persepolis, but I know that she started a kind of, I wouldn't say a scholarship, but she started a school or something like that with her husband. Um,
I mean, she was an activist. She
yeah.
made films. I believe she directed other people's whatever. She was active,
Mhm.
and I'm embarrassed to admit, we can have a talk about this at some point. Maybe not this episode, but the books I haven't read. Like I never finished Mouse, Art Spiegelman's Mouse. Okay. I never read Persepolis, and I have the book, and I've gifted the book. In fact, when I was telling Jen, my girlfriend, this morning about it, she said, "Oh, I just pulled the book that you gifted me a few years ago that I hadn't read. I'm going to read it now." Persepolis.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a sequel, and there's other things that she's done, of course. But when I read this morning that she died of sadness, it crushed me.
Yeah.
And then it reminded me the last time I was at Yaddo 2 years ago was when I got a phone call from Paul Pope saying that John Cassaday's in a coma.
Yeah. I remember you.
And then within a week, he was dead. And it's not like going to Yaddo, you're going to, somehow activates, the death of some very important cartoonist, because the older we get, this is happening every month now.
Yeah.
It feels like,
I
because we're older, you know.
yeah, I think I mentioned around the time that John had passed, going to Baltimore, and where we were set up, where our table for hang die, night work, whatever you want to call our collective studio, we were, or at least my seat, I was next to Peter Rostovsky on the corner, and then where I was sitting, I could see John Cassaday's booth. And there was a big standee of, I think, his Captain America from his run of
Hmm.
Captain America, or if not a standee, a banner. And just seeing that just made me dwell on the fact that we do these shows, we see each other maybe once, maybe twice a year if we're lucky, or more, if we do enough shows. And at some point, somebody stops showing up. And at any point, that could be me, that could be you, that could be whoever, and like the flowers that were put at his table for, like in tribute. Um, just the idea of the empty chair that was there. Um, it's it's a stark reality of life, not just, being a comic book creator, but it's a stark reality of life that we don't get to do this forever, and
Yep.
the I'm so moved by love sometimes, like when I see, you know, you know, expressions of love, and just, the idea that Marjane loved her husband so much, and like they loved each other so much, and there was like just this bond, like this friendship, between them, you could tell. And to be able to point to the loss of this one love as the reason why she's no longer with us, it's just profound, and it's
It, it,
beautiful,
it truly, it
sad.
truly is. It truly is because, and I don't know how healthy that is, but I don't think it has anything to do with being healthy,
Right.
like, but I recognize that, but it's weird because one of the stories I'm trying to crack while at Yaddo is the lead story in Antimatter #2, which is called The Many Deaths of Jane Legit.
Hmm.
So
You
it's all about
use this
that.
for a while, yeah.
It's kind of like about that obsession between two people, like, and we've heard about this before. It's the subject of famous novels and movies and songs, that one love, that one has, and can you do it again? Do you even want to do it again? Like, I believe that she died of sadness,
Yeah.
absolutely, and not knowing her. I might have been in a room with her. I never met her, you know.
I've never met her.
Um, but it was so profound when I woke up this morning, especially because I'm trying to crack this story, Vito, and I'm having a tough time because I need to list examples, but then also I just want to keep it simple and plain. That the older I get, the simpler I want my stories to, at least the plots of my stories to be,
Mhm.
and let the richness come out through character,
Yeah.
you know? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, like, rest in peace,
I find,
Marjane Satrapi. I don't
yeah,
know
the
what
thing
you say.
about, like you were saying, like it doesn't seem, not that it doesn't seem normal, but it doesn't seem natural, maybe, of couplings where you use the word obsession. And I'm sure you're not using that in a derogatory way. I think you're using it in a,
No, but it can be derogatory. Like, I'm
yeah,
allowing
absolutely.
it, right?
But like I
I
think
don't
about,
mean it that way, but yeah.
like you think about like the animal kingdom and how couplings work in the animal kingdom. It's just random. A male lion could have three or four female lionesses in their pride and be the father of like so many others. But then you think about like crows. Crows are fascinating to me. Like if a crow dies, they actually have a funeral, like in a weird way, like like I don't like, and they call it
Or a pigeon, when you see two pigeons and one's been hit by a car and the other one's standing by it. Like,
and it's that, I think it's natural that like, did you ever see or listen? Maybe this might actually help you. There's a movie that was based on a play called Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and it's about,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's about a
I met that
John
Hedwig.
John Cameron Mitchell.
Yeah, John Cameron. Of all people, Neil Gaiman introduced me to him at a Cynthia von Bueller party.
That is that that sounds like one of your dad's stories. Like if you, and
Yeah.
everyone, if you haven't listened to Dean interviewing his dad on Dean's Substack, the link is below. Like you'll be able to get to it. But as I said while I was listening to it, your dad is such a goddamn character. Like he is
Oh
the
yeah.
character of many novels that I've read in my life, and like, he's anyway.
Right.
But that sounds like one of your dad's stories. So go ahead. I'm sorry, John Cameron Mitchell.
No, I was. You were mentioning to maybe you were talking about Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which actually I have not seen,
Mhm.
but I have met John Cameron Mitchell, who I guess went on to do obviously other things,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
but there's so many stories of love. When I was a kid, the one that stuck with me was, I think it's the original adaptation of Wuthering Heights
Hmm.
with Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
And I remember now I need to revisit that story because I think I might have interpreted it in a way that maybe was wrong. Like I see it as such a love story. I also felt the same way with Alex Cox's Sid and Nancy with Gary
Yeah.
Oldman and Chloe Webb. And it's a toxic, toxic love affair. Like,
That is for
it's
sure.
also such a love story,
Yeah.
like so I think I have a skewed point of view.
But there's a song in Hedwig that's called "The Origin of Love," and it's about how like we were created as these four-legged, four-limbed like creatures that split, and you're constantly looking for the other half of you that is split. And in the case of the show and the music, it suggests that yes, some of us were shaped like men, some of us were shaped like women, some of us were shaped like both on both ends, were shaped as two opposite ones, and we split, and that we're always looking for that second shape. And
I've never heard that. That's interesting. And all I can
it's a
think about
beautiful
right now
song
is
too.
Spider-Man with six arms, like
It's
telling
a,
like
it's a
somehow
it's an
splitting.
absolutely beautiful song. The musical is fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's a movie. You can actually watch it as a film. If you listen to just the music soundtrack, it kind of conveys the struggle that Hedwig had being a man who wanted to transition to being a woman, who ended up having a botched sex change operation, hence the angry inch, which is the nub of his penis that is left behind, but he still lives as a woman. And it's a fascinating, beautiful story.
Wow.
And
That's
in thinking about Marjane and her husband, whose name I want to get right, I don't want to just keep referring to him as Marjane's husband. He deserves to have his own name
right.
spoken. But
Do you have it?
yeah, I just got to pull it up. I was just looking it up a second ago. But it's just an incredible story. Like just and I feel like that's part of what we're looking at. Matthias, what's your last name?
Ripa?
I believe so.
No.
Yeah, I think it's Matthias Ripa.
I
Yeah,
think it's Matan.
but yeah,
Yeah.
what and I think that's just like when you
And
think,
I'm going to try to show what I
yeah,
sent you, but this was her, that's her entire Instagram. And I can probably look up what, and it says, "For I lost the love of my life." And it's very like intentional
yeah.
what I'm looking at right here, you
And
know.
they created the
Um,
Academy of Fine Arts in with the Matthias and Marjane Ripa Satrapi Cinema Foundation, and this is in France. So, like again, they did some great work. I would assume. I know Persepolis is one of the most indelible stories of the 20th century that to ever be released. It's incredible. Um, and 21st, I should say.
yeah.
I believe it came out in 2004. I might be wrong on that, but I think about the Hedwig song, and I think I look at um, this Instagram, and it's like two things, one being that split into two that found each other, and then one
It's
passed away,
bookended by yeah.
and the other one withered away, because of the loss of the other. I think that's if that's not love, I don't know what is. Like it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is, and it's very sad. And you know, I don't need to know any more than that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Just read the work, and it's what we leave behind. And then, our personal relationships or whatever, that's for us to have. We don't need
yeah.
to, especially, I mean, and it's funny because some people don't get to decide, like famous people, right? Like when you become famous, and I would say she's probably famous. I would
Definitely
consider her
within our
famous.
realm. Yeah.
So then what people tend to do is to like find all the things that, oh, the postcard or an email or an interaction or a piece of memorabilia or something. And, you know, it's
Like,
just like,
you mean like they're trying to be like armchair detectives trying to figure out why?
or they just want to capitalize on someone's fame,
Right.
or, like, and it's funny because like, recently, my dad knew Marilyn Monroe, and so that podcast that I did on my newsletter Substack was really just a quick half-hour impromptu. Hey, Dad, Marilyn's 100th birthday is coming up, and I know he was already in People magazine, and he then got on Cindy Adams, and then he was on another podcast, a well-known Marilyn podcast.
Mhm.
But then I was like, well, I'm your son, and like let's just have a little parlay, like
Yeah,
about Marilyn, and by the way, me and Whitney Matheson uh have done extensive, like I want to say we might have 5 or 6 hours
yeah.
of interviews with my father from a few years ago during the COVID pandemic. We would go up there wearing a mask and just kind of like created a project that I think she would like to edit, but I'm also feeling like let's just publish it raw, kind of thing. So someday
Yeah,
there'll be a more
I
extensive
would love to
version.
and I said to you like that, like I said, your dad is a character, but the thing is like he writes about these other people, and it's like he what he needs to do is write about himself because his life is just like just in the things that you glean from this conversation with you and from you and I talking about him, like just I don't want to say it's the proximity to celebrity that makes him interesting because that's not quite it. It's the life that he's lived as a result of being close to those that were famous that in turn made his life rich. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Like
No,
not like
it's that, but also he did interact. Like, in other words,
yeah,
there
yeah.
are not only, adjacent, but he was there for some, like he was great friends with Jane Mansfield,
Which I
and
didn't know
tons
until
of
I heard
people.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot. I recently bought him a movie that Whitney recommended to me. Oh God, it stars, and I'm forgetting everything right now because I'm tired, but it's called Blue Moon. It came out last year.
Oh, I know what
Linkletter, I think, directed it.
you've recommended it to me.
Ethan Hawke plays, and it's great. It's so well written, and it's basically a play in a movie, and I'm forgetting who he was portraying, and then there were other, significant authors and playwrights. But it's just a beautiful movie, and like in terms of being adjacent or being in the middle or in the mix, like and right now I'm at Yaddo. I mean, it feels like a night at Yaddo sometimes, like the Blue Moon, like where the intersections between, people falling out or falling in, or their stars rising or their stars falling or whatever, like unfortunately that is part of the conversation is who are you and where are you in the mix?
So the movie Blue Moon was directed by Richard Linklater, which number one recommends it immediately. Um, it Ethan Hawke stars as Lorenz Hart.
Oh, right. Who was married to my mother's boss, Kitty Carlisle Hart, I
Yes.
believe. And or maybe it was a different one. I can't remember. Anyway, because he was gay
Yeah.
or a closet homosexual. So I might be getting that wrong. But anyway, and then right, was it Rogers and Hammerstein? Are they in the
Yeah, they're
yeah.
involved. Yeah.
It, it's so good, Vito, and everyone should watch it. And Ethan Hawke is just next level
I
in
mean,
this
Ethan
movie.
Hawke, and then you couple him with Richard Linklater, who they made some of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
Boyhood, the Before Sunrise trilogy.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
amazing together. So,
Yep.
um, so
So I'm glad that. Well, thank you for listening to that and
oh my
reacting
God,
that way.
oh my God, it was so like here's the problem with it. It was so short. And I know you were like, when you listen to it, at some point you're like, we have to end this because we're meeting somebody. And like
Yeah,
your
yeah,
best
yeah, yeah.
friend's coming over or whatever. And like, it was like, oh man, I could sit here and listen to this like for at least an hour, if not like another, 30 minutes at the very least.
We
Um,
have something coming at some point. So
yeah,
thank you.
it's just, the thing that I am slightly, I don't want to say jealous of, but kind of envious of is that your dad is still around to tell you these stories, and my dad, I was 15, like so I don't I have to listen to his stories third hand. So you find out that my dad at one point was a model. He did it was weird. My dad had a weird life. He was modeling for like paperback covers, like painted paperback covers, is very weird. My stepmom was involved in that, and that's how he got involved. My little sister did it for a little bit when she was a baby, like she was on a couple of covers. Um, my stepmother's father owned a studio, like a photography studio. I ran a photography studio, and it was right next door to Christopher Ciccone's photography studio. So they were all friends, which means Madonna gets involved in the mix. And I've told a story about Madonna a couple of times.
Yep.
I almost met
Yep.
Madonna. And then, you throw in, well, my dad also apparently dated Terry Bozzio from the band Missing Persons. Um,
Huh.
he might have gone on a date with Kelly LeBrock once. Again, like all these weird kind of family
Mm.
lore, like you hear about, and then none of it is verifiable because he's not with us anymore. So it's like, who do you believe?
Mm.
What do you say and stuff? And it's just
Yeah, yeah, totally.
he becomes James Bond after a point. It's like, well,
Hmm.
some of it is just a Italian American in the 1980s being a cad and not caring about like
Hmm. Hmm.
AIDS or anything like that, and then gets married and whatever, it's hard to some of it's hard to parse. So my dad
Right.
shares a birthday, not date, like or birth date, not day, I should say, June 1st with Marilyn Monroe. And I wrote a thing about my dad about how he would have been 76 this year. And it's very hard for me to reconcile a lot of my feelings for him and like who he was, who he'd be, and who I would be as a result of him not passing away. Like this podcast wouldn't exist probably.
Who know? I mean, you don't know. How do I share this? There was a conversation with a filmmaker last night that's making a movie about his relationship with his father. And I'm not going to name who the famous, peaceful, religious kind of person was. But apparently, his father, when he was 6 years old, sat in this famous person's lap and it changed his trajectory. And he went on to go do a whole bunch of stuff, let's
Wow.
say.
Mhm.
Okay. And in interviewing his father and talking to his father, he did a little homework and realized, wait, that person never was there at that time and date and
Wow.
space. At least that's what he started to figure out. And the question is, do I tell my dad?
Oh, that's rough. That's a fascinating story. Like we like like false memories and stuff. It's just like
Or I started thinking the first thing that came to my mind, because I'm an idiot, is that Star Wars where uh, Natalie Portman plays Princess Leia's mother, right?
Mhm.
And at some point, isn't there like a fake out, uh, oh God, like famous people will have people that look like them that
Yeah,
walk
that's in
around,
the first one. I think she has like a bunch of duplicates, and then Keira Knightley's
a
one of them.
duplicate, right? And,
Yeah,
and I think Castro had, I mean, everybody, I think people who were like, have duplicates. And all I could think about was, well, maybe this famous person kind of had other people spreading the gospel in the news, and if you look like them, and but that was just me throwing a Hail Mary at this,
right.
like, but the question is, why is that important? How is it important? What does it do to your mind? Like, if your father was alive today, and you could say "Happy Birthday, Dad" at 76,
Yeah.
does it change much? Does it change a lot? I don't know.
Well, the reason why I always think that like my life would be almost 300% different would be because when he died, I was 15, and it's such a formative age that like I could have had answers to questions earlier instead of having to figure things out myself. I mean, you could make the joke that, oh, sex is probably one of the bigger things, but like that's not necessarily the only thing. Um, Driving a car he might have taught me how to drive a car instead of me basically figuring it out from going to driver's ed and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's such a weird what if, I guess, is a way to put
Well,
it.
it is a weird one, and all I can think about right now is a comic that I have erased from my mind, which was an autobiography comic called The Cabbage Patch Man. It's a two-pager I did in Keyhole. And when you were saying about your dad teaching about sex, I almost wish my father hadn't. Because when I was a kid, so the comic is a 30-year-old version, let's say, of Dean Haspiel washing dishes,
Right.
right? And at one point during this telling of the story, one of the dishes slips out of his hands and cracks under the floor because of what the dish is reminding him of. And basically, it's about how when I was a kid, I asked my dad, and my dad recounted the story to me. I probably blocked it
Recently?
out. No, no, no,
Oh, okay.
years ago. And I have forgotten about it until I think it was Josh Neufeld reminding me of it for some reason. But I asked my dad, where do babies come from? And instead of, well, not birds and bees, whatever. And it's kind of why I'm also nodding to the Cabbage Patch Man, idea. He excused himself, took a dish, went into the bathroom, and came out. I don't know how much longer later, and showed me. And he said, "This is where babies come."
Oh no.
I
It's
mean, I'll
probably what
just.
I'm, I hope it's not, but it's probably exactly what I'm thinking.
There was a substance in the plate,
It's exactly what I'm thinking.
so I think we just lost half of our listeners right now. Like, but the fact that I made a comic out of it is why I will I will talk about
Watched,
it.
I watched.
And it's not like he was trying to mess with me. Like, although probably just I just had more questions. I'm sure. Like.
I think you broke me.
Yeah, you wanted that half hour to go a little longer. That's where we would probably veer to,
I'm
Vito. The 73rd episode finally broke Vito, man.
can't think of anything else.
Oh my God.
You know what's going through my mind is, well, my son's 10, he'll be 11. I gotta teach him something.
Yeah, that's right.
Imagine. I'm gonna throw up.
Oh my God. Actually, you wrote something to me last night in terms of that I actually shared with a couple of people at the table
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
literally the woman next to me. Well, let me read what you wrote. First of all,
Oh my
you
god.
wrote, uh, just cracked me up. You said,
Oh yeah.
found out how worms reproduce, and I want to go to sleep forever. And I just started like I'm eating dinner. I get this. I look at my phone like an idiot, and I just start cracking up under the table. And the woman next to me is a writer, and she only writes about bugs and
Yeah.
nature. And like, which is like what a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
So I show her the text and she laughs and we're both cracking up. And then she says to me, I don't know how worms reproduce, like,
Dude,
which was hilarious. And do I want to know?
I'll explain it to you. But let me just start from where, like, so Michelle was looking at a video of a worm farm. And I'm like, farm? It doesn't make sense. Like worms just, and then like my brain cracked and I was like, wait, they have to reproduce. Like, what is it? How do they, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, how do they proliferate? It doesn't make sense at all. Like, I just assumed they were just in the ground. And I'm like, but the ground doesn't make that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's like this blind, huge, glaring blind spot of knowledge.
Sure.
You're like, I don't know what they do.
Right.
So I knew that they were hermaphroditic. They have both male and female uh, characteristics. But how does the genitalia,
How
all
does it
that stuff.
work? Yeah.
And apparently, if you ever see like the band, like if you ever stretch out a worm and you see like a band in the middle there, like it's like a thicker band other than like the little segmented parts. That's basically their sex organ. And
Okay.
they transfer the um I don't want to call it semen or seminal fluid, but they transfer like the
The stuff.
substance, whatever it's called, between them, and that band becomes a cocoon on the female, and basically like they slip out of that cocoon and the worms come from that.
Wait, so they slip out of the cocoon then grows more and more time,
Like it grows
and
a little
then
bit bigger, and then the
creates
little,
still more worms
yeah,
come from that. Wow, it's almost like a chastity belt,
yeah,
but
almost,
not,
but
like
the opposite.
right.
But it's like
Wow.
so I'm looking at that and I was just like, oh, like, and I was literally getting physically ill while I was reading
Yeah.
it. And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
do I know this now? I can't. Why is it that I know I had to know this and now I know it and I don't want to know it?
Now you know it.
And then I was like,
And
it's time to let Dean know.
well, it's funny because I once wrote, I wouldn't say it's a pitch. It was literally a loose one sentence idea, and I had no idea where how I was going to make this work, but it's comics, so it doesn't matter. But the idea was uh Solomon Grundy impregnates Swamp Thing's thigh.
I've
That's
heard,
as far as I got.
I think I've heard that pitch and alone that it and that alone, and I was just like, it's a lot.
Like, and now now you just reignited that idea with this worm thing. So
Yeah, it's
thank
crazy.
you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's it. Your quote. You're welcome.
I I was gonna say what I've been working on while I'm here,
Yeah, please
because one of the things I've tried to do and failed is to come here only to write and not to draw. Okay.
mention that. Yeah.
And so and drawing is how I usually make money, not writing, although I try to write what I draw these days. And I actually got a gig to do some artwork for the Yaddo newsletter, thankfully, gratefully, because it's just tough times right now, man, money
Yeah.
wise, just tough times. And but while I'm here, I actually, and I was going to send it to you, was the first 9 pages of my next Red Hook, I'll say graphic novella. I don't know. I don't think I can fit the story into like a comic book. I think it might have to be at least 48 pages. Okay. And the title is Son of a Bitch. And
Uh-huh.
it stars the Coney and her son, the Red Hook, and it has to do with guns. The subtitles, the gunshot heard around the world. I also came up with there's a possibility that I might be writing and drawing a Zorro story. Zorro, the
Yeah, I know.
famous,
Dude,
you
I'm
know,
half Hispanic. Of course, I know who
I
Zorro
mean,
is.
of course. And then also that's the movie that a young Bruce Wayne or the Waynes were watching when they left the theater, then spawned Batman. Um, and so I kind of came up with an idea, I think, without going too crazy, and
Are you going to write the Zorro story as well as draw it?
I think I would write it, but I have no take on Zorro, Vito.
Oh.
I came up with like an action,
Mhm.
like being hired to do something, but like I don't know his personality. I don't know if he drinks alcohol. I don't know anything about this
The,
guy.
the thing you have to know about Zorro is the setting. It's pre expansion California mostly. So you have California still owned by Mexico, and you have like I'm sorry, California is owned by Spain, which also owns Mexico at that point. So you have like basically a native Mexican trying to liberate these people from the crown, basically, because
Hmm.
they're employing. And then you have the Americans with a treaty with Spain. So the Americans being brought in almost as mercenaries for the whole thing.
So you
So,
see, all that stuff is like too much for me. I actually literally have him and starting by playing Mumbledy Pig in a small town saloon.
but again, like this is just the other thing about it is he's of noble birth, but he cares about the people.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I
So
mean,
I have a situation where that makes
yeah, and
sense. Okay,
you have a little bit more context for what
right,
Zorro is.
right. So then, and then I've been working on this Billy Dogma story I was telling you about that like was kind of like spiritually, um, uh, I don't know,
The many deaths of Jane Legit, you're saying, yeah?
yeah, with Marjane Satrapi's,
Hmm.
death. I mean, it's weird. It's weird. And then I'm hoping to get the green light. I've already gotten the green light to work on it, but working on a budget. Maybe this story I want to do for Charlie McKelvey's anthology that I don't think has been announced.
Which one? Ballistic Adrenaline? Or
That's been announced.
yeah, he's posted pictures of the cover of what
Oh,
through the cover. So it's not
oh,
official when it's going to launch, but it has been he has announced.
okay. I didn't know if he had announced it, which is why I was being like cagey. So I mean, that's another thing I want to work. And then I have two plays, a screenplay, and other stuff I want to write. It's a lot of ambitious stuff to try to do. And I think I can pull it off. And then also, this has been announced, but at Baltimore this year, they do a yearbook every year where they celebrate an independent cartoonist,
Mhm.
And this year it's Eric Larson, and he's letting people play with the Savage Dragon toys. So even though I'm not drawing here necessarily,
Uh-oh.
uh, oops, making noise here. I was quickly because like by the time I get back, I'm gonna have to turn around and cover, and I'll be rusty. So I
Mhm.
was like trying to come up with a quick idea of like a sketch of the Red Hook tackling Savage Dragon,
Uh,
and then like the old pulp covers where they'd be like in the corner, and I did that with the Fox. I don't know. I might do something like this. Just again, I'm still trying to work it out.
yeah.
And again, it's just a sketch, so I actually have to really draw it, color it, and everything else. So, um,
If I may,
so that's what I've been
if I may
working on.
suggest something,
And by the way, that's what I'm working on in the last. Today will be my sixth or seventh day. I've only been here a week, so I'm trying to get a lot done. You know.
if I might suggest something that might be a
Yes.
little like tough for Dino, whatever you decide to do for the cover, bring that sketch to Baltimore. I guarantee you'll get $500 for it.
For the sketch? No, come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You kidding me?
But this is just a pinup in a book, and then something I
Right.
have.
Right. So you can pay 20 something dollars to get the pinup in the book, if you're
Right,
not already getting it for free with the VIP pass and stuff. But
right.
that sketch, you kidding me? That sketch is worth tons of money,
Dude, I wish. Thank you. I appreciate that. But
especially if that's not the final version. If that's just
right.
like I guarantee you somebody will pay at least
Oh,
$200.
now if I was famous and could sell my
It
art,
has
like
nothing to do with it. It has nothing to
no,
do
but
with it. I'll tell you what it
I was
is.
gonna say I've done like whenever I do a cover sketch, usually I have to give three or four,
Right.
right? I have I can show you the Godzilla cover I did, and I can show you the three other sketches that I drew and what's cool about that is the ones that never got made, right?
Right.
Or
That's
fully
that's my point.
realized.
My point is that you're very precious with the ones that like that get printed, that are the
Mhm.
finalized versions. And I'm saying that maybe you don't have to be so precious with the quote unquote throwaway sketch that you're either going to use as a template or you're going to change slightly or whatever. I
Yeah, no,
still
I
think
get what you mean. And what's funny is that's where I want to get. That's the goal, my dream goal is to get to where my sketch is the final art.
no, I know that you've mentioned that, but like
Right.
what I'm saying is that like now you could, like I said, I'm being specific about the Savage Dragon pinup
Sure.
because you're working on something that will be present to you.
And it's a character that people know,
Right.
and I get it. Like, where it's working on, same thing with Godzilla.
Mhm.
Like whenever I work on a franchise, you're right. Maybe there's more I can get out of that, squeeze out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying sell all of your art.
Right.
I'm just saying that like the sketches that if you're considering them as kind of like proto sketches, or like you said, throwaway, like don't throw it away. Just
Oh, I never thought I
you
keep
know, you know what I
everything.
mean? Like
No,
if
I,
it's
I
not
keep everything. Like I have scripts and I have my layouts, and they go next to the final art.
Mhm.
And like if I whatever, if it was ever put on a museum wall or something, or any wall, and it could do the contrast comparisons between the thumbnail sketch and then the fully realized thing, which is, in some ways is the bummer is I've done so many pages in the last 10, 15 years that don't have lettering on them because we don't letter artwork anymore necessarily. I mean, we do digitally, but not on the
you mean
boards, not
on
on
the
the
board,
original
right?
art. And like recently, when I've been doing my Red Hook strip, I'm hand lettering those, and
Mhm.
I feel really I have like 13 of these now, and like eventually I could have a show where you could read the comics,
Yeah.
like and I'm maybe someday that'll happen. Who knows?
Right.
Um, I only kind of have one more quick little thing. I don't know if you had a
I
topic
had
that you wanted
I had
to.
at least one that you're aware of from our conversation last night.
Okay, so before we do that, I just want to give props to Tim McEwen and Gary Challoner for I joked, I think the last time we spoke, how they said that they had read Antimatter #1 or somebody had, and he
Mhm.
wasn't sure if he liked it or something like that.
Right.
Well, they elaborated and gave me props on a recent Club Domingo, and I want to give these guys some love. Thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
I
And the
appreciate
thing
both.
that I'm realizing though is like, okay, backers got the comic, and then I can sell them at tables. But like, and yes, I needed to figure out the in-store problem that I have, as a quote self-publisher. But what really is missing is I don't have a landing page to buy the comic book. Like
Mhm.
you can DM me and then we'll figure it out on a Venmo and you'd send me your address. But
Do you have
I need to
Etsy?
actually create a page. What?
You have an Etsy page. Why not just put it up on the Etsy
What do
page?
you say? Oh, Etsy. So I'm gonna have to probably put it up on my Etsy page, but I, I'm kind of like, do I like? I mean, there's nothing really wrong with Etsy, and I guess for some people psychologically, they like to have a middleman, so they don't feel like you're gonna rip them off or something. Although I've never ripped anybody off.
There
It's
is
a
an
business.
artist by the name of Dakota Alexander. He does this book called The Hunter, which is like a weird superhero horror, kind of like Marvel 70s Bronze Age type of book that I think you would dig.
Sounds cool.
And he did it on Kickstarter. The first issue funded. He's about to do the second issue. I just started following him on Facebook, and
Hmm.
he got rid of, like, he did the backers, and then he had the
Hmm.
excess that he sold on Etsy, and he just sold out of the first issue. So
Right.
I would say reach out to him. Um, I think it's just dakotaалexander.com for his website. That might link to his Etsy, or might have a link to his Etsy. But he's fantastic. I really appreciate his art and stuff. And he and I have just started talking, you know. But I would say, like,
Cool.
that's kind of the model you want to look at. I mean, it's
Yeah, I got to look at what people are doing, and like, and then there's
you're worried
Power Pult,
about
which we've talked about in the past.
you're worried about the wrong things, man. like you're like, I don't know if people are going to think I'm going to run off with the money, dude. You're Dean Haspiel. Why would you run off with the money and not send that you're by a fault? Like, oh, I feel bad. I didn't get this in the mail in a week. Let me throw a
Yeah,
sketch. Like, that's how you are. Like, you're not like, I don't
yeah,
think anybody has to worry about that with you.
yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I think because Kickstarter has had a bad rap, or meaning, well, for many reasons. Number one, but also it recommends itself. But with the amount of people that never completed a Kickstarter, there's that, and then there's people who, when do you mail something off, and But I'm on top of things usually.
Yeah.
So
I think you're the last person to worry about. Um,
right.
so the topic that I had, Michelle had asked us last night. My wife is really, really one of the funniest people ever. Um, she was watching videos. She got sucked into this like hole of watching videos of a guy eating the final meals of death row inmates. And like some of them were like famous people like John Wayne Gacy and stuff. And then he would rank the meals. And like, oh, this is like in this like A tier, this is like S tier, whatever, like the and like some of them were like one of them was just Aileen Wuornos just wanted a hot cup of black coffee. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
And I get that. I get it. And what I think I know where this is going to go. Like, first of all, what a fascinating idea for a show. Like
crazy.
to eat
Yeah.
the last meals of what do you call inmates?
Death row inmates. I mean, some of them
Death
were
row
serial
inmates.
killers, but not necessarily.
Yeah. And so, and then having fun ranking them, whatever is a good idea, not a bad idea. I swear, I feel, and I think we were going to talk like what would be your last meal,
Mhm.
right? Is that where this
Yeah.
is going?
Yeah.
So I could come up with a 5 meals, right? And we could discuss that. But my gut says I would be so sick to my stomach, or unless I had come to feel like I needed to and I owned it. Let's say I feel like I couldn't eat anything.
My argument was, so you see some of these people, they're like Aileen Wuornos just wanted a hot cup of coffee. This one guy wanted a honey bun, like a tasty cake honey bun, which is like, okay. This one guy had three pizzas, 4 liters of Coke, or whatever, like this big elaborate spread. And I'm like, that's bullshit because all he's doing is expanding his life on Earth so that he can eat all this stuff. And it's just like, all right, time.
Wanted to leave behind a mess. He was preparing.
That's the other part of it.
I think he was getting some revenge in his
Yeah, yeah. So like I'm like, why would I want to just like take up all this time? Like I would want to just get it. If I knew I was guilty, if I knew I'd killed 7 people and that I deserved whatever punishment I was going to get, I don't want to stick around. Like just
yeah,
let's go, man. Just like I said, Aileen Wuornos, totally respect just a black cup of coffee. Let's go.
yeah.
Unrepentant. She was unrepentant in her killing.
Right.
Like, yeah, it makes
Didn't you
sense.
say somebody had a 64-ounce bottle of Sprite or something?
No, this guy had like this huge big spread, and then all he wanted was a quarter of a bottle of Sprite, like
Oh,
like that much. You know what I mean? Of Sprite from the bottle. Like, are you
wow.
what a maniac?
He knew what he wanted, I guess. I mean, I can think of meals that are like favorite meals, but
Yeah,
is there one meal that identify? Because then you start to thinking, is does that identify you? And I think we might be thinking too much because I think the person on death row is probably not thinking as hard as we are.
no, of
I,
course not.
I don't
Because
imagine because you're just thinking, well, what do I want to taste last? And that's like, oh my God, just the concept of that alone. Like I remember when Prince died
mm,
and he died in an elevator at
yes,
Paisley Park, which, from the Let's Go Crazy song, that's a little eerie. Punch a higher floor when you're feeling
we're
down.
gonna let the
But
elevator bring us down.
bring it down and then punch a higher floor. I used to think it was punch your eyes out, but it's punch a higher floor.
Mm,
Anyway, but then they talked about his last meal because he had a chef.
yeah,
I don't remember the last meal now, but I remember at the time I was just fascinated. Like, what was he? And I don't even think he ate it, or he might have had a bite of it,
right.
kind of thing. And the idea of your last anything. I
But he
mean,
wasn't planning on dying. You know what I mean? Like that.
no,
You
you're
know,
right. But it was just to me fascinating. Like, what was in his stomach or
mm.
something, when he died? I don't know. It becomes morbid curiosity,
Whereas
like,
with the death row inmates, it's like, all right, today's your last day on Earth. Let's, you know, prepare for the end. Like
or I think the joke, like the comedy version, would be to pick something that is so almost impossible. So I guess they have to order something within reason. But imagine if you were like, I need something special from Alaska, and I need
you know,
something from India. Like, I
there's
don't know what.
there's something to that because there is a guy. I don't think he was American. I think he was German, and I think he was executed in Germany. But there was I forget what it's called. It's called Fraken or something like that or whatever. And it's basically a hamburger, but it's just the way it's made is a little
Okay.
bit different. It's a meatball that's squashed down. I'm like, oh, a hamburger. Like that's all I wanted was a
Oh,
hamburger.
okay.
It's a
Okay.
little bit more in the process of making it, and I
Right.
tend to think that that was something that reminded him of childhood. Like maybe his mom made it.
I think that might be the actual truth behind a lot of these. Like you said, the honey bun might be something sweet or something you would
Right.
like one could get away with by hiding under a bed to eat the honey bun, when you're not supposed to eat it. I'm just,
I mean, and there
coming
were
to
guys that were
ideas.
like, "Give me a meat lover's pizza from Domino's," and it's just like, okay, you could,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, now you should die. Like, yeah, you should have lived this life.
but
You know,
like
like,
in thinking about it, like I can't think of what I would want my final meal to be, but I know that part of it is like, for example, I've always said that my favorite meal of the year is Thanksgiving dinner. And I
mhm.
feel like that would be maybe one of my choices. Just like,
Do you mean the actual food or the
yeah,
the
like
the, the
turkey,
presentation?
no
See,
turkey.
I'm not. That's one of my least favorites.
Yeah, you've said. And like to
Yeah,
me, that's just like that's a comfort thing. That's just like, all right, I'm eating this because it reminds me of a better time.
that's what it is. Yeah.
And I want to eat this, exactly like this, maybe not specifically prepared a certain way. Like you don't have to hand make the stuffing, but like
Hmm.
stovetop is fine. Just make sure, whatever.
Right. Right.
I know that my go-to for any type of like, if I'm hungry, all I want is a cheeseburger. Do you know what I mean? Like I will, a cheeseburger and a beer are probably like my favorite thing in the
I
world.
mean, that's just like a perennial that like to me, that's a good obvious choice for a meat eater. I
And
mean,
granted, like you could, not just a cheeseburger, but all right, a mushroom Swiss burger, or like a burger, like an American cheese bacon with an egg on a, like you can doll it up however you want. But I think my go-to would be a cheeseburger and a beer, so.
right,
And I don't
right. And I
drink, but like I like a beer with a burger.
so I just feel like, and we may have even discussed this in the past. I don't remember, but I remember one of my go-tos in my brain is grilled pork chops with yellow rice and black beans,
Mm.
and then garlic on the pork chops and hot sauce on the rice and beans. I love that meal. I
That's a
love
bodega meal.
I like chicken parm with
Same.
spaghetti, you know. Um I love Chinese food, but I don't know what I would pick necessarily. I mean, I guess the obvious one would be beef with tomato because that's one of my
That's you.
go-tos and some for
But
some weird
but so
reason.
help me,
I mean,
Pete.
since Hop days.
If you're on death row, you specifically, if you're ever on death
Say it
row,
again.
if you, Dean Haspiel, are ever on death row and they go, "What's your final meal?" and I find out that you ordered bok choy, I will come and kill you. Like right there.
You'll kill me before the
Yeah,
needle
I will
does.
not let you. I will not let you go out that way.
Do they electrocute people still or no? They
Some places,
can't.
some are lethal injection. Some,
They electrocute you still?
I imagine, probably Texas.
Oh my
Some places
God.
still, some places hang you. Some people,
Oh
some
my
places, and I don't mean in America. I mean in the world. Some
yeah.
places hang you. Some people die by firing squad. Still, like it's crazy.
Right,
It's
right.
so inhumane. You sent me a video yesterday of this guy getting into a fight, and he's wearing meta glasses.
Oh, it's from his point of view from the meta glasses.
Right. And I
Yeah,
was like, and I couldn't figure out how to, because it's not inhumane like we're talking about, but it's
right.
just something kind of sad about it in general. And then I was like, am I supposed to laugh? I think I'm supposed to laugh because it's kind of funny, but I don't know if I should laugh because it doesn't feel appropriate to laugh. Like there,
Right.
like when you dig into the whole situation of why that fight began, it's not
Hmm.
it's not funny, but like the point of view is kind of funny. Like
Yeah,
it's like you're seeing it from the guy's point of view as he's
right.
fighting the guy. So it is kind of funny, but like you kind of weep for humanity after a while.
You do. And what was funny to me is like as much as, and we were talking about AI last night.
Yeah.
Um, I sent you something
Oh,
that recommends AI to me, and you were like, you want to punch in the face.
no, I wanted to
And
punch
I
the
was like,
phone in the face.
you want to punch the phone in the face. And I want to get this right. All right. So basically, it was a Star Trek situation.
Right.
But you had Star Wars characters in it as well.
Not only that, you had Star Trek characters from different eras of Star Trek. Seven of
Different
Nine,
eras of Star Trek.
Hole, and Uhura started off. And they're talking about the length of the skirt, right? And then you have Captain Kirk saying that they had to quarantine all the men except for three. And the three that they quarantined or they didn't get quarantined were Spock because he wasn't going through Pomfar, Geordie LaForge because he's blind, and Data because he's a robot. So and then you find
Right.
out that the three of them are on the holodeck playing Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty like a bunch of nerds. And then like Data gets called up, and then you have Counselor Troy talking to um, Ahsoka Tano from uh,
Star Wars.
Star Wars, but I can't remember which Star Wars. I mean, other than her own show and Princess Leia, and the
Oh,
both
Clone Wars, whatever.
yeah,
And
and then
then
both
Princess,
were
and then in a white outfit is Captain Mar. I don't know if she's playing Captain Marvel.
oh
So
yes,
Brie
Brie
Larson
Larson. Yeah, she's playing.
shows up.
She looks like the one bald character from the first Star Trek movie, like Star Trek the motion picture,
Right.
or is her outfit. but she's not bald. She's got, yeah,
So then it starts to make you think, wait, do we get Guardians of the Galaxy or Marvel into
right.
this? And I was like, bring it on. Bring
And
it on.
the
And
reason
and to
why,
me, when I'll tell you why I accepted it, and then I want to hear your because listen, I hate it too. But if you're gonna do mashups of famous franchise character or but the big, the have at it. I'm not talking about doing it to our stuff necessarily, but
right,
our strays and red hooks and maybe even savage dragons. But there's something cool about the mashup and then using the stupid toys for the mashups
mhm,
because why not? And then of course it makes you think. Did Tarantino write that Star Trek movie that he's not going to make?
right,
Like, did he actually write the script? I feel like he's the kind of guy that would just write the script first and then talk about it.
right.
Like, so anyway, and that feels like a mashup, you know. But at the end of the day, the way they were using it was kind of like sex pot type of
Mhm, mhm,
area. There wasn't like any real interesting narrative. What was interesting was having them in the same room. But
right.
now, what would you do really with that possibility?
Yeah. And the reason why I'm kind of against it is because there's a point where when you're watching it that the delivery of the lines is so stiff and wooden and there's
Yeah, yeah,
naturalism to it, and it's like
yeah.
this is why you go to the movies and watch TV, is to watch these people react. And like I can understand it for the Seven of Nine and the Vulcan female character and Spock even, to have that kind of wooden delivery, but like everybody else, it's just like there's no nuance.
No, no. I mean, it's not there
There's no
yet,
blood
but
in it, you know?
no, and there isn't now. But give it 3 years, maybe
Right.
less.
I mean,
Honestly,
I feel like we're maybe months away from somebody taking. Do you remember the Patton Oswalt rant where he's talking about Star Wars and Marvel, mixing together on Parks and
a
Recreation?
filibuster,
Right.
right?
We're weeks away from somebody putting that into a generator and just doing that.
Totally, totally. And I've already told my idea of how I would have done a Marvel uh Star Wars idea, right? How to do a mashup. Do you remember my idea?
Don't.
It would be on the heels of the end of Empire Strikes Back, okay? And it would mean a time issue. But basically when Luke Skywalker's hand got cut off by Darth Vader
Hmm.
and it fell and went out the Cloud City, whatever. Where does it fall? It keeps falling, right? So, cut to years later, you have Guardians of the Galaxy, okay? Uh, and I think it happened with Iron Man or some character went against the glass shield or
Hmm.
something, one of those.
Oh yeah, it was
Anyway,
Thor
it was Thor. That's
in
right, which is
in
awesome.
Infinity War.
So maybe, but the idea I had was, did he lose his saber? I feel like he was holding his saber when he got his hand cut off.
That sounds right because that would have been.
Okay, Luke's saber. So that he's still holding that saber. It's unlit. It's just like a flashlight, and it hits the glass of a spaceship. This hand, this cut off hand. It's like a little decrepit, but it's holding that lightsaber, and it hits the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they grab that hand, and that kind of like would be the beginning of mashing up Star
Mhm.
Wars with Marvel.
Right.
So whatever.
Yeah,
You're not gonna.
I had on my one of my old podcasts, I was like, I can't remember what the topic was, but I said that like if Fox wanted to keep the X-Men because it was on the heels of like Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse, and they were like kind of just tanking, like I mean they're interesting to watch, but they're not very good. So I'm like,
Mhm.
so this was before the sale to Disney, and I was like, if
Right.
Fox wants to keep the X-Men, they should just
Hmm.
do the Claremont, Paul Smith. I think Byrne might have had one issue, but I don't. But it might have been Dave Cockrum, like the
Hmm.
Brood saga.
Right.
But instead of like the Brood, just use the alien xenomorphs. That's what they're supposed to be.
Right. Right. Right.
Just like then you have the X-Men versus aliens. You kidding me? Disney wouldn't have been able to afford X-Men at that point.
Right. Right. I wanted to give a shout out to our buddy Ray Anthony Height.
I was going to mention this as well.
Okay, well, I'll just read the headline from Variety.
Yeah, this is
Shaquille,
yeah,
what?
right there. You said the first word, and it's like this is absolutely bonkers.
Did you know about this?
No,
Shaquille O'Neal teams with Archie Comics to develop comic book series called Vengeance Unchained: The Legend of Black Caesar, which is being written by,
Stephanie
you're asking me
Williams.
to sign up, Stephanie Williams, and illustrated by Ray Anthony Height. And I guess the question is Ray Anthony Height doing it fully? Is he using a studio? I don't know,
I
but it
believe
doesn't matter. The
I
point
believe
is
he's
he's
doing.
working on a pretty cool, high profile project, which is awesome. Congrats, Ray Anthony Height.
I
Like
believe
that's
he's
a cool.
doing. I don't know for sure. He's like, I'll call you next week when I talked to him today, like on Instagram. I sent him a couple of things, and he's like, I'll call you next week. So I'll maybe what I can reveal, I will reveal next week. But my thinking was, I
Okay,
thought I
cool.
saw something to
Um,
the effect of in the initial press release, it didn't mention Studio Sky Tiger, and I saw that he had mentioned something about that. So my thinking is he's probably taking the lead on the artwork, and the finishes are going to be
and
done.
have background, like kind of when I worked with Simonson, Sienkiewicz, and Chaikin. Yeah.
Right,
That makes sense. And then you're cranking out a book,
right.
like so he would probably do the lead figure work and anything that the important stuff, let's say, and then hand off like the other stuff that's also important.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not belittling there, but all right. And I was going to say to you, probably because I'm here for 4 weeks at Yaddo, we're probably going to have shorter episodes a little bit,
Mhm.
because I am trying to just get into the trenches here of just writing. And I actually, I'm not paying attention to the world, Vito,
I,
as much
I
as I used to.
I wouldn't.
You're right.
I will say this much. There are now 30 pages of art to be lettered by me of Pay the Devil. So we're,
Nice.
I think, 20 pages short of the whole book.
And you're
Um,
debuting this at Baltimore Comic Con
that's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah, uh, I'm going to print it in a way that's probably not the way I want it to be printed, but I want to get it into people's hands. So it's probably going
That's
to be
fine.
a
That's
super
fine.
thick, like regular comic, like almost like a 80-page giant, but not, I think like it'll probably clock in at like 60 something.
Sure. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for all this other stuff you're working on. I was going to say Steve Walker, who's the artist and
Mhm.
collaborator on Pay the Devil, is the guy that I was talking to that hooked me up at the Art Students League to do
Mhm.
my recent workshop. Well, lo and behold, guess what? I'm doing another workshop at the Art Students League of the same topic,
Mhm.
comics fundamentals, writing and pictures and drawing narratives. And I'll be announcing this a lot, right, to try to drive interest. But it's going to be in September, a 4-night class with a break in between because it's September 14th, 15th, and then 17th and 18th because September 16th is Jen Ferguson's birthday. And if I could avoid working on at night on her birthday, so we made that work out.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we'll get enough people to sign up by mid-September. There's a lot going on in the fall too, man. So
Well,
fingers
um,
crossed.
I think appropriate by its proximity to this announcement, we should also announce that Steve Walker will be joining us at our table at Baltimore.
That's right. And
And
with this new book,
yeah, and
you
with
know,
Black Forge Chronicles as well, which is his self-created, self-propelled comic, which I recommend everybody pick up. It's so much fun. Who else is joining us? We got me, you, Steve.
and Jeffrey Burant,
Yes.
which also has not been announced until right now. Jeff UK of Americans UK, the band, but also makes great comics. And I think his big comic would be Gonad the Barbarian.
Which we previewed on the show when we had him on,
Yes, that's right.
and I believe
And he has other comics like Killer Bad with Jason Gungor. He did a comic, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Seriously, about a clown killer with Sean Von Gorman.
That
Um,
sounds right. He also had that flip book with the two stories in it, or something. Not flip, but like he had a lead story and a second story, and I forget the name of that one as well.
oh, that was a kind of a grindhouse comic,
Yes.
of Blood and Brains.
Hmm.
With yeah, you're right, with another story. So yeah, he's got a lot of great stuff, and he's done YA stuff for Only Press, Odd Schnoz, and the Something Squad.
We got a good
um,
crew.
yeah, no, it'll be good. And then your family will be there as well, running
Yeah.
around
Of
doing.
It's funny you said it's not been announced, but I believe that we will probably be officially announced by Baltimore the week that this episode comes up, because usually, like, they just got all of our bios and pictures in, so it seems
Yeah,
like.
yeah, they might be announcing it soon. So,
But I do want
which is
to.
cool.
I want to announce one last thing. Um, the strain number 4, we're not, anywhere near considering when we're going to run the Kickstarter or anything. We're going to do Beast Within first, then we'll look at strain number 4. But strain number 4, as a birthday present to her dad, will have a cover by Sadie Delsante.
What? Come on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I said, hey, my
That's
birthday, can you do a
awesome.
cover for Stray? She's like, okay.
That is awesome. A variant, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. That's so cool, man.
So I'm
All right.
excited.
Congratulations. Wow, oh man, just thinking about that. That's cool. All right. Sweet. Sweet,
I
man.
mean, I don't know if it'll look like as good as this picture she did, but I hope.
Or you can always use that if worst case scenario,
Well,
like that's pretty awesome.
I told her today, I said, hey, if you want to put your original characters on the cover too, feel free, like advertise.
Go to town. Yeah, have fun with it,
So I'm
man.
looking forward to that.
Sweet. Real quick question. I haven't watched anything, but I was going to consider maybe, and I don't want to watch it on my laptop because we don't really well, we do have a media room with a monitor that I could maybe hook up but have you watched Spider Noir?
I watched the first episode. It's interesting. I'm not Nicolas Cage is so hit and miss with me sometimes, so it's hard for me to like. He's known as kind of voice like this, see, and
Oh,
it's
he's doing, yeah,
it's kind of
he's
like
okay.
I rankle a little bit. But Brendan Gleeson is in it. He plays Silvermane. Brendan Gleeson from what's the book that Insurin, the movie that you were recommending me with Colin Farrell.
The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yes, he plays Silvermane. Like he's fantastic.
Cool.
Lamorne Morris from New Girl plays Robbie Robertson, which he's fantastic as well. Like he's very cool. But there's some things in there that I'm kind of like trying to figure out. There's a lounge singer who is Felicia Hardy. Like she's interesting. Jack Houston from Boardwalk
Oh, cool.
Empire.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
plays Sandman. He plays Flint Marko.
Oh,
So
see, so I'll check it out. I'll probably watch it in black and white. Did you
yeah,
do the black and white?
I started to, but then I noticed that like there's a weirdness, like it feels fake. It almost feels like the
Well, it probably wasn't really shot for black and white, but
right.
maybe
That's
after.
why I just went to color. So I was like, oh, it doesn't feel right, like the
Okay,
transfer.
interesting.
I
Okay.
also last week I rewatched two movies that I haven't watched in years. The Karate Kid, because my
Hmm.
daughter is now obsessed with Ralph Macchio because
Ah,
she read The Outsiders in school. And
ah.
um, what was the other one? Dirty Dancing. And boy, Dirty Dancing's still good, man. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's probably not in your
It's
real.
funny. I don't think I've ever seen The Karate Kid. I've seen enough scenes to think I've seen The Karate Kid.
Karate Kid is
Uh,
weird because it's still like like I never noticed it. Like there's all this buildup, and then it's only like the last half hour that really quote unquote matters.
sure.
It's all the training and all that stuff, and then like the
Right,
last half
right,
hour is
right.
the actual tournament. But
But you got to get to that. You have to earn that last half hour,
yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to think of anything else. I read uh the most recent Ed Brubaker,
Oh,
Sean
cool.
Phillips
The criminal
books.
book.
The Knives, and the other one was like kind of a cult kind of book
Was
that
it
was
the
different,
the Devil You Know or something like that? Or
something like that.
that one's good. I
And
have
then
that.
they were both really good. And then he has a new one coming out,
Mm.
that I'm excited for. Like I think might have come out in comic shops already, and it's like officially coming out like at the end of this month.
Uh,
And I've not been able to read a lot of stuff, so I'm trying to also do that while on retreat. And I have like maybe five other graphic novels with me that I can't wait to tackle. So,
I just got in Tyrannus, the Thunderlord, number six, I think, and First Guard number two. Both were done by my buddy Eric Bennett via G-Man Comics. I just got that in the mail. So I
mhm.
haven't read them yet, but I will be reading them shortly.
Cool, cool.
Tyrannus is like his the Irish version of Thor,
Okay.
an actual uh, mythological character. And then First Guard is, I believe, it's a modern day superhero team, but they're crossing over with the Silver Age version of the team. And like I helped Eric kind of develop one or two of them. So it's
Oh,
like I want
cool.
to see them in action, kind of. So
Yeah, man. That's cool. That's great. I think we should. I wrote down a note here that you should title this episode number 73, quote, the episode that broke Vito.
yeah, that's a good one. I think
Something
it's
to think
kind of
about.
like I think it's kind of weird, like that we can talk about something as heartbreaking and sad as Marjane Satrapi passing away, but still
Yeah,
find something to like. It'd be so easy to just dwell on that and just be depressed the entire time.
right.
But it's just interesting to like know that like human beings we kind of go on, like we just we're resilient in a lot of ways.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, on that note, we can end on a funny because you're talking about, finding the humor in life, right? So you sent me something
oh boy.
I love. I don't know why. I mean, I love farts. I think they're the funniest things in the world, right? So you sent me something. Uh, Hold on a second. Let me find it.
Was it the one with the teachers?
It was Gilda Radner
Oh, that's
and John
fantastic. This
Lennon,
story is amazing.
and I'm just gonna quickly read it. So it's on Instagram. The title is Gilda Radner on when John Lennon farted in her elevator in 1980, and basically, I can cut to the quick. She's in the elevator, the door's open,
She's
John
moving
Lennon
in, I
steps
believe.
in.
I
She's
think
moving
like
in,
yeah.
and John Lennon steps in, and she says, I had never seen him in person before, and I was real nervous. She said hello, he said hello. Then they stood in complete silence until Lennon let loose what Gilda described as one of the loudest farts she'd ever heard. And then the guy interviewing her says, a beetle farted in your elevator? And she said, this was more than your garden variety fart. This was a real blasto that rattled all of my cartons. I'm telling you, this thing had a tail on it. Just
And
the vision.
and then
She
Lennon.
says, she says, Gilda started laughing, then Lennon started laughing and he said, welcome to the building, Gilda. Uh, and then the interviewer, this guy named Alan Zweibel, I think, said, that's what you're going to remember most about one of the greatest poets of the 20th century? And she said, yeah, because it was a personal moment. And that's the stuff that makes the most lasting impressions.
That's absolutely right.
I, I love that. Well,
Yeah,
thanks for sharing
absolutely.
that.
And thank you everyone for sharing our time with us. Continued success to Dean up at Yaddo. We'll probably check in with him again next week up there. Uh, Go ahead, buy one of our t-shirts. We want to see one or two of these in Baltimore. Like so go down below, you'll see it. You'll also see
Maybe they'll get something like a quick like Vito sketch or something,
hey, I'll do
like
it. I'm happy to do it. You'll also see a link below to donate to the show. Again, we're trying to upgrade our equipment, so any little bit helps. Um, I will be this week. By the time you watch this, I'll have already been there. But I'll have my report next week about the Three Rivers Comic Con 10th anniversary Three Rivers Comic Con. I'm sure to be hanging out with Don Simpson and Ron Friends as much as possible. Maybe talk to Jimmy Rugg, a couple other folks, and more reports from Yaddo. More looking forward to Baltimore. Where
and you have a birthday coming up, not after the next episode, if
yes,
I'm correct.
yes,
So yeah, man. All right, good. All
53.
right. You're 53 after doing 73 of these.
All right,
Jeez.
everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.